Hey folks, it's your old pal Justin Robert Young here. If you want to support this show, then go ahead and do it at patreon.com/JURY. There, you can not only make sure that you support independent political media, which is something that does not happen unless you guys do it. Also, if you want 3 times the podcast, then you can go ahead and do it by being a patron at the $3 and up level. That means you get a headline edition and a specialized RSS feed. Put it in the podcatcher of your choice. Couldn't be easier, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and do it at patreon.com/JURY. See you there, folks.
But all the money in the Bank of England couldn't pay enough to keep young Johnny Jones away from old Broadway. If you want to take a trip, the surest
Oh, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so are you a fan of this show? I probably am going to guess that you are because you're listening to this. I am doing a live show in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on November 18th. That's a Saturday. During the day, I'm going to be at PAX Unplugged talking about the card games. And then at night, I'm going to be at Shot Tower Coffee, 7 p.m., that is at 542 Christian Street on Saturday, November 18th. It's a politics show technically, but we're going to do a bunch of stuff. If you like jury or you like politics, I am begging you personally to come out. I have no idea who's going to show up here. No price at the door, but we're going to do a suggested donation just because I got to pay for the place. So, again, November 18th, Shot Tower Coffee, 542 Christian Street, Politics, live show. It's me, Justin. I'm going to be in Philadelphia. Hey, born and raised in the playground. Please show up. I'm so worried.
Politics.
Oh, shit. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Politics podcast. My name is Justin Robert Young. We have maybe our most jam-packed show ever. I can't believe I did it. I literally choked on the show. I was so excited about the show. I literally choked trying to talk about it. That's how much we have for you right now. Oh, jeez. Oh, my Lord. I don't even, okay, so here, let me summarize what we got here for you. We have a gigantic week of news. Of course, the Mueller investigation makes its first indictments. Manafort, Gates indicted. We're going to spend a little time on them. We're going to spend much more time talking about really the biggest news out of it, which is that Mr. Papadopoulos, a volunteer or staffer of the Trump campaign, depending on who you believe, was in contact with Russia. This is the closest and clearest direct connection we have had as recognized by the Mueller investigation to a connection between Trump and Russia. That is what they are investigating. We are going to talk about that. We are going to talk about Donald Trump and Chuck Schumer trading paint over the fact that there was a terrorist attack in New York City yesterday. We are going to talk, and no, we're not going to talk. Sorry. We are not going to talk about George H.W. Bush grabbing butts. We are going to break news on this show. We are going to break news on this show about George H.W. Bush grabbing butts. Something I have not seen reported anywhere else. We are going to break it right here. And yes, I'm going to pull a Rachel Maddow and not do it until the very end of the show. So, just so you know. We also have not one stage, not 2 stages, but 3 stages of a pole dance. 3-stage pole dance, and these stages, folks, are wild. These are wild-ass stages. And, of course, we have the best emails in the business. One of them breaks down what I asked folks to. If all 45 presidents, that counts Grover Cleveland twice, were parachuted onto an island that contained guns, vehicles, and armor in the same style as the video game PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, who would win and why? We have that answered, or at least the breakdown that you have been waiting for in our emails a little bit later. But your emails! All right. Let's go ahead and start with the biggest news story, and that, again, is Robert Mueller's indictment. We knew that Manafort was going down, right? Like, Manafort was always the target. Manafort has been publicly squeezed by Mueller in the press. Manafort had his house raided. So when indictments were announced that they were sealed and they'd be unsealed Monday, what I thought initially was that this is a chance to go to people that have not yet started cooperating to squeeze them to start cooperating. So Manafort winds up going down for a lot of stuff that is kind of outside the campaign. And let's do a little time warp and go back to when Manafort first came on the campaign. Okay? Let's first think about what was happening. Because what I said then and what I will say now, and go back and check the receipts to how I was talking about Manafort back when he got brought on, when Corey Lewandowski, who again was fired because, in part, he could not get a Breitbart reporter to not report him for being physically abusive. When you are running the Trump campaign and you can't get a Breitbart reporter, friendly press, to not file charges against you, you're not doing your job running the campaign. So you know. Fired. They then bring on Manafort. And what I said then is what I'll say now. He was scratch and dent. He was a scratch and dent person that was there to run a campaign that had previously been run by somebody that was in over his head and incompetent to the task. Manafort, on the other hand, did have experience running campaigns. Now, where he got the experience is a different story. This is going to be the second time that I bring up the show Action that I loved. It was an old show on Fox. It was about Hollywood and stuff like that. It had Jay Moore as a big producer, and he winds up finding a call girl, Ileana Douglas, who's actually better than most executives, and he winds up making her an executive at his production firm. But the show opens up with an agent pitching Peter Dragon. He's like, listen, I have got the guy for you. He's a little hot right now. Like, you know, you're going to face a little controversy, but he's got worldwide name recognition. He's acted before. He has been in hit movies, and he is ready, willing, and able to be a movie star on the highest caliber. If you say this person's name, everybody in the room will immediately know who he is. And Peter Dragon's like, oh my God, this is great. This is amazing. Who is it? O.J. Simpson. And the agent gets kicked out of the room, right? But that's a way that Hollywood works. If you look at, all right, I got the guy to run your campaign. He's got previous Republican campaign experience. He's run a very contentious election in the last few years. Who is he? Paul Manafort. That's who. Oh, what did he do before? Oh, he, ran these fairly dodgy campaigns out in Ukraine for Russian-backed candidates. So he was dirty from the beginning. There's no reason why he would have been picked if all the other top talent hadn't already been snapped up by the Marco Rubios and Jeb Bushes and Ted Cruzes of the world. He was scratch and dent. And he proved to be ineffective past the convention, and they got rid of him. But that dude was dirty from the get. There was no doubt about it in my mind. And then when Mueller started sneaking around, the idea is, hey, look, you've been living a dirty life. This dude spent $1 million at a clothing store out of these like Seychelles bank accounts because he's moving money from Russia. Of course, there's going to be some element of this dude's life that he's going to get popped on, and that's what happened. Conspiracy against the United States. But like I said on Monday, when this all went down, if it was just the Mueller shit, the Manafort shit, if it was just the Gates shit, if you're Donald Trump, meh, could have been worse. And he that's what he thought, obviously, because he got chesty. He got chesty immediately, runs out. Donald Trump got them Twitter fingers. All the shit that they got Manafort on happened years ago before the campaign. No collusion. Proven. Ball game. Scoreboard. He didn't write that last stuff. That was the subtext of what he wrote. And then the indictment got unsealed. And we found the real story. The real story here. Yes. What is the real story? Well, the real story is Mr. Papadopoulos, hip-hop anonymous. His rhymes are bottomless. But right here, you can call him Big Papa. Big Papa in the house. Big Papa. I hope that doesn't get this pulled down off YouTube. Big Papa bringing the meats. He has been indicted a month ago and been cooperating with the Mueller investigation for that month. In fact, there is now speculation that he might have worn a wire inside his interaction with people in the Trump administration now, or campaign while he was doing it. Now, according to the reports inside the White House, many people had no idea who the fuck this guy was. And so immediately the line from Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who opened up her press conference giving a 10-minute stall session, apparently a viral email about how taxes work based on an analogy of reporters going to the bar. The line was, listen, nobody knew who he was. He was a volunteer. He was one of many volunteers. He had nothing to do with this, with the campaign. He was barely there. If this is all they have, then they don't have anything. And we will see, because obviously Mueller is laying a case. He is an FBI agent. He is there to investigate and get indictments. So I don't want to rush right now and say that Papadopoulos is either important or not important. That is not something that I will say because I think it's foolhardy. And anybody who is rushing out there and saying that he is very important or he is not important at all simply doesn't know. I don't think that we're in a position where we can say that right now. That's just me. Here's what I do know. That man is an idiot. He is an idiot. Here is why I am confident in saying that this man, Papadopoulos, is Veep. He is Armando Iannucci, who does the brilliant Veep, In the Loop, In the Thick of It. He's got a new movie out called The Death of Stalin, which is essentially the same kind of political bickering, but taking place in Russia when Stalin died. I am a huge fan of his work, and I have now realized that his real secret, is not changing anything when it comes to the actions of people involved in politics. Because there are two things that are delightful to me about this man, Papadopoulos. Number one, this is according to The Hill. A story about how Papadopoulos got hired by the Ben Carson campaign. All right? So he was hired by Ben Carson before he got hired by he volunteered for the Trump campaign. Ben Carson, the campaign manager for Ben Carson's campaign manager, Barry Bennett, was desperate to add to his list of foreign policy advisors in November 2015. More than 100 people had just been killed in the Paris terrorist attack, and Carson's campaign was in a tailspin after one of his foreign policy advisors described the candidate as clueless on national security to the New York Times. As Bennett scanned resumes, one name jumped out to him: George Papadopoulos. Papadopoulos' resume was thin. He listed his participation in a model United Nations class exercise on his LinkedIn profile. On his LinkedIn profile. This story takes place last year. This story takes place in 2016. That means that at the age of 28, this man, who currently, apparently, holds the balance of democracy in his hands in an investigation to find out whether Russia colluded with the Trump campaign, last year listed the model UN on his LinkedIn. And they tell me not to laugh. They tell me this is serious. This is serious business. Something else that came up. Apparently, George Papadopoulos was insistent that he should be an on-camera surrogate. He should be an on-camera surrogate for the Trump campaign. Where did he want to do it? Where did he want to do it? He wanted to do it on This Week on ABC. Why? Why did he want to be? And he was arguing. What was his argument of why he wanted to be on This Week on ABC, the Sunday morning talk show on ABC? Because the host of that show is George Stephanopoulos. And his last name is Papadopoulos. This dude was in the middle of the most contentious campaign of all time, was literally making the Oprah Uma argument for why he needs to be on screen. Again, this is the guy. This is apparently the straw that breaks the camel's back. This man in the palm of his hand, the same palm that has model UN experience. This is this guy. And we're supposed, serious business here. This man is insane. This is the funniest thing I have ever heard. Last year, I'm just going to tell this to anybody. I know that there are some people who listen to this that are involved in politics. I need embarrassing resume stories. What is the most embarrassing shit that you have read on a resume based on somebody who is just too old to be listing this kind of shit on his resume? I need that. Specifically anybody. I know there are some DC folks that are listening to this. Give me those. Because I want to know how ridiculous this is. There is a reason why, apparently, I love all of Armando Iannucci's stuff, and it is because this is all real. This is all true. # this is real. We're stealing it from Hood Slam. We had sad news, though. There is, we'll calm it down. We'll get a little serious. A terrorist attack in New York City yesterday. I believe last I checked, it was 8 dead. Chat, if you want to, please correct me if that's not true. The driver driving a Home Depot rented truck ran into the bike lane, killed 8 people. This became a big thing yesterday. Obviously, I mean it's an absolute tragedy. I don't know much to say about what happened aside from my obviously my heart goes out to literally everybody who was affected by it. As the investigation goes forward, but Donald Trump took the time to light up. I guess it was 12 dead. I know there was 8 dead last I saw, and many more injured. So it wouldn't shock me if after a night in the hospital that there was more. Donald Trump started to attack Chuck Schumer last night and said that this was a reason why we need to have more extreme vetting, and that the person who committed this attack came in via a lottery system that was pushed by Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer, you know what? Listen, I'm just going to be honest. There's not a lot of times that I agree with Chuck Schumer, but I do agree with this, and that is, his point was, I guess it's not too soon to politicize the tragedy, and I don't believe that that you need to do that this needs to be about that immediately. I mean, I'm fine with talking about solutions, I do think it's in poor taste. It's in poor taste. And I thought the same with the gun stuff right after the Vegas tragedy. I thought that was, I think it is everybody's right to do it. I would never say that anybody has the right to not do it. I think that Donald Trump is cognizant of the fact that he is not acting presidential. In fact, let's find my favorite Trump tweet ever. This happened over the weekend. Let me see if I can find this. This is just amazing, and it really does show, what goes through Donald Trump's mind when he is tweeting. Obviously he is somebody that very much values his direct connection to the people. But he opened a tweet with a line that just delighted me. It's very rare that I get just delighted by stuff, but here's something that delighted me. While not at all presidential, I must point out that sloppy Michael Moore's show on Broadway was a total bomb and forced to close. Sad. While not at all presidential. Listen, I know it's beneath the office for me to just light Michael Moore on fire on Twitter to kick him while he's down. However, I'm going to have to do it. It's basically like, listen, I've got to be that, I hate to be that guy, but I got to be that guy. While not at all presidential. Here's just what I'll say about it. It says, the man says what he means. He cherishes this, and he feels every once in a while. I just want to know, is everything else presidential? That's, I guess, what I would like to know. Is everything else? No, this is presidential. But I understand that kicking Michael Moore in the balls while he's laying on the ground, like, that's not presidential. I just want to make sure that we get that out there. All right. Let's get to something else. Silicon Valley has made their way to the Hill. They are currently debating, or they're answering questions from senators. Can I just point this out? I, in general, don't necessarily think that these hearings get us anything or anywhere. And I think, in particular, these are a waste of time. Because all the Silicon Valley companies sent lawyers. So they're just going to kind of... Basically, here's what I said on Twitter. These hearings are a bunch of people who do not know what the fuck they're talking about. None of these people understand social media. Trying to make a political show out of asking questions to people who are paid to not say anything. So, this is not to say that there is not an actual problem here, nor that there is a reason why we should not have a further evolution of understanding and characterizing political ads on social media. It is part of growing up. And ultimately, here's what's going to happen. Either all these social media companies are going to form their own company or their own arm, like the movie industry did with the MPAA, or they are going to try to use their lobbyists to adjust the legislation that will come down from Capitol Hill to be as least restrictive as possible. However, I do not believe that these guys, that this is going to be solved or made better by these hearings. And I could not at all handle these questions. It was just mind-blowingly bad. It was effectively, and Thanksgiving's coming up. So picture this. Your grandpa asking your the person closest to the age in your family, closest to the age of 13, about these exact issues. That's basically what it was. Except the 13-year-old had a lawyer who said, just keep me out of trouble. It was stupid. And I don't think that anything's going to come out of it. I mean, except for the fact that, again, we're going to get dumb legislation. The legislation that's been put out there is stupid already. And it's going to be either adjusted or we're going to see the dawning of the political responsibility committee that voluntarily Google, Facebook, Twitter, and everybody else are going to run all their political ads through. Like, that's just what's going to happen. You know? So, spoiler alert. These are dumb. It's a dumb thing. Where are we at time-wise? All right, we're at about the half-hour mark. We're at about halfway through the show. Are you guys ready to break some news? Get your clipping fingers. Get your clipping fingers ready, chat realm. Because we're going to break some news. For those of you who don't know about this story, here's what has happened. As the names continue to pile up of people who have sexually harassed or worse, many times worse, people throughout their lives. Usually powerful men exerting their position on lessers to get their sexual jollies. We've seen it with, most famously, Harvey Weinstein, James Toback, Kevin Spacey. Just this morning, Ben Ratner. Meanwhile, in the world of politics, Mark Halperin, somebody that I've talked about the work of Mark Halperin on this show many, many times. I am a huge fan of Game Change, The Circus, all the stuff that he's done. Their show on Bloomberg. I loved him and the other guy who wrote Game Change with him. He's done, over. There's not going to be another Game Change book because he was a serial sexual abuser throughout his time in the media. And among this came a curious little story about George H.W. Bush. George, 41, the father of George W. Bush. Read my lips, no new taxes. Not gonna do it, wouldn't be prudent. That George Bush, right? Brett Ratner, not Ben Ratner, sorry. Ben Ratner might be watching the show right now. He actually worked with us at BitTorrent. So George H.W. Bush, he apparently, this initially comes out with an actress on the AMC show Turn, grabbed her butt during a photo. He told a dirty joke. Then there were more. More women came out. So that this has happened. I have said on this show that it's gross, it's bad, and I wonder how many men George H.W. Bush has told this dirty joke. Heather Lind was the actress that initially brought this out. So I have two pieces of news to break. Here's the first. A new allegation against George H.W. Bush. In regards, there's an email, anonymous email. In regards to H.W. Bush groping young women, this is not a solitary event. I'm a theater actor and know many people who have worked at the Algonquin Playhouse, to which the Bushes are major donors. I can think of at least 3 girls who have told me he grabbed their butts during a party or during a donor dinner. One said, Mrs. Bush just rolled her eyes. I wonder if this is going to become a bigger thing. George H.W. Bush is 91 years old. He has been in a wheelchair for, I think, 5 years. But here's the news I have to break. Because I wondered while this story was going on. And I didn't wonder. I assumed that this is George W. Bush being a dirty old man grabbing women's butts. Well, I am here to change my opinion. I have changed my opinion based on what I read right here. This is an anonymous email. I am breaking news on the podcast. Listening to the latest PX3, where you were talking about the allegations against George H.W. Bush. My brother works very closely with Bush and told me about a joke he repeats over and over and over. Do you want to know my favorite magician? Sure. David Copperfield. He proceeds to grab your butt. Now, that has been reported. That is not the news. Here is the news. The former president uses this joke on anyone he meets and has used it on my brother several times. George H.W. Bush is grabbing man ass. This is a all ass situation. Any ass in that man's view. He goes full crab. He is goosing so much you'd think he was next to my home of Lake Merritt. That man is grabbing butts like it is going out of style. So I am changing my opinion. This is also gross, but also weird. This is apparently just a joke he likes to tell to everybody. Everybody he meets, including his own security detail. Man or woman, he's telling them his favorite magician is David Copperfield. He may be a harasser, but he is not discriminatory. It is just a weird joke that an old man is telling. And indeed, I wish I had the sounder with me, but he is an ass man. Trey Warren asks, does that make it better or worse? I don't know. I have no idea. To your own taste. To your own taste, whether or not you think it is better or worse. For whatever reason, it did make it better for me. Like I just kind of thought, like I don't know. It just became weird old man behavior. That's what it went from he's trying to grab women's asses to like for sexual jollies to he legitimately thinks this is funny and has weird boundary issues. That's what it made it seem to me. It went from, I guess it desexualized it a little bit. It just became a weird fucking joke that this weird guy is doing. So here we go. Sandwich Brad, still gross, but kind of more weird and less sexist, I guess. That's my official position. Sandwich Brad just nailed it. Still gross, but more kind of weird and less sexist, I guess. There we go. That is the news I am breaking. We are now officially changing this controversy to still gross, but kind of more weird and less sexist, I guess. Put that on the scroll. I wish I had a scroll right here. That would be my breaking news. Just a weird old man thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the most popular portion of this podcast. We'll get into the rented limo because we are taking data behind the velvet rope. We are letting loose the carnal pleasures of surveys, spritz that axe from the bathroom attendant, and hold on to the demographic shifts because this is a Politics. 3 stage. We are staying in the state of Virginia, ladies and gentlemen, because this is a pole dance between. Please to the stage, we need Ralph Northam and Ed Gillespie for this 3-stage pole dance. Beginning first with the Washington Post poll. This is October 26th to October 29th. 921 likely voters, a 4% margin of error. First to the stage, the Republican, with 44% of the vote, Ed Gillespie, beaten by Ralph Northam with 49% of the vote. So that is Northam with a 5-point spread.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
But let's shift our attention to the Politicsx stage with their poll taken from October 25th to October 29th with 916 likely voters, a 4.2% margin of error. That is Ralph Northam with Ed Gillespie with 36% and Ralph Northam with 53%. That is Northam with a 17-point spread. But our final stage of the night is the polling company stage that is taken from October 23rd to October 26th. 800 likely voters. That has Ed Gillespie with 45. And Ralph Northam with 43%. That is Ed Gillespie with a 2-point spread. Oh my God. Shit is getting wild in Virginia. We've got all these. I mean, these polls are fucking all over the place, guys. This is fucking insane. So just to recap, the last three polls have Northam +5, Northam +17, and Ed Gillespie +2. Volatile. Virginia is purple derple, says JM Kaiser 33, and you ain't whistling motherfucking Dixie, dude. So this election takes place next week. We are pumped. That means we have actual election results to talk about. Ooh, and we had a nasty campaign ad too about this race, where Northam, a political action committee supporting Northam, has, check my Twitter because I'm gonna post it there. But the campaign ad has all these kids of color running away from a truck that has a Confederate flag on it and an Ed Gillespie sticker. But it's like this racist truck chasing these kids, and then they wake up and it's a bad dream. I mean, it's gnarly. It's basically, if you support Ed Gillespie, you are going to chase down children in your racist truck. I got to post it. You can find it. Come to our Discord. I'll post it in the Discord. That is bit.ly/jurypolitics if you want to get in our Discord, or follow me on Twitter, or both. They're both great places to hang out. But your emails. Go ahead and get in your emails to theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. bit.ly/jury Discord is also the way to go to get into the Discord. Steven, Major Spoiler Schleicher. Love Steven. He wrote in something that a lot of people wrote in, so he was not the only one to do it. FYI, in case nobody else has pointed it out, while Kansas is a red state, Lawrence, Kansas, which is the first town that came to my mind when I was trying to think of a red state, a city in a red state, Lawrence, Kansas is where Kansas University and Douglas County in general are definitely blue and have voted for Democratic tickets for decades. So Lawrence, Kansas, which was my top of mind example for a red city, is not indeed a red city. Rock, chalk, Jayhawk. Except for that one time, 2003. Remember that? Remember that? Huh? Remember that Final Four? Jerry McNamara? Oh, from half court. Draining threes. Oh, champion Melo. People keep saying Carmelo Anthony's not a champion. He's a champion in my heart because I was down there in New Orleans. Oh, yeah. I'm taking at least a minute to revel in the fact that if we're talking about Kansas University, that Syracuse beat Kansas in the Final Four championship game in 2003. People don't forget. Moving on. So your question, would somebody in Lawrence be able to tell you why a New Yorker voted for Hillary? Would definitely be a yes. All right. We get it. As an aside, but also to show you the mentality of a red state, I took my boys to the polls in November 2016 for the Kids Vote project at their school. As we were standing in line, one of the kids' county's richest oil men walked in, took one of my boys by the hand and said, "I hope you are here to vote for the right man for the job." Everyone around him laughed, as my boys kind of looked at him like he was a weirdo. Definitely made them uncomfortable. But my oldest, age 9 at the time, said he didn't know what to do or say. And he said he almost voted for Trump just because everybody around him was laughing. I mean, environments are there for a reason, right? We are a product of our environments. That's what it is. So, just in case, I don't think I read that right. Effectively, that this was a kind of a joke that, hey, you better be voting for the man, not the woman. Which might have been code, might have been misogyny, whatever. He's an old man after all. Scale writes, I'm writing in response to Andrew's email about his pro-gun registration arguments. First of all, I get where he's coming from. The U.S. suffers from an obscene amount of gun deaths each year. It is also needless and tragic. I get it, and I sympathize. But Andrew, for the love of Christ, man, keep my country's name out of your mouth. Scale, by the way, is from Australia. Australian states phased in gun registration. They told us, do the right thing. It's about safety. And it's just to make it harder for criminals to acquire them. And even, it's better for you. Because if someone ever steals your gun, we can track them and you'll get it back. Oh, really? Well, 1996 came. Some clown went ape shit with an SLR in Port Arthur. And overnight, we lost all of our guns. Yeah, you can still get bolt and pump action firearms, but the amount of bullshit you have to go through to acquire a license and the regulations from proper storage, transport, and usage of the firearms makes it prohibitively frustrating and expensive. Yes, it probably saves some lives, but you would have saved more lives if you wrapped everybody up in bubble wrap and never let them outside at night. The safety Nazis can go too far, my dude, and that's what they did here. For Christ's sakes, they regulate crossbows now. They're talking about regulating compound bows. Fucking compound bows! Airsoft guns and slingshots are prohibited. You aren't even allowed to buy body armor. I wanted to read this because whenever there are gun arguments, we hear a lot about Australia. But this is an Australian writing in about it. And I felt that this person, that Scale, who writes in a lot, deserved to have his voice heard. So this is an Australian who is not in favor of what Australia did with gun registration. Take that for what you will. David writes, I was just wanted to let you know that I will be at your live show in Philly. You seem pretty nervous about it on the latest PX3 episode, so rest assured you will not be alone. I am going to reveal to you guys right now what the Philly show is going to be about. Because I will cover a little bit of the politics of the day, but this is going to be a little bit more of a special event. And what I'm going to do is something I've wanted to do forever. I'm going to do the oral history of the Monica Lewinsky scandal. I'm just going to go beat by beat as it happened and go over what to me was the defining scandal of my adolescence. It's what made me interested in politics. It to me was the light switch that turned on. As soon as that happened, following that as I did, I became politically aware, and I'm going to revel in talking about it in Philadelphia this on November 18th. Why do I not know this? Why am I bad? I'm going to be, that is November 18th, Shot Tower Coffee. November 18th, Philadelphia, Shot Tower Coffee. Show is free. We're going to do a suggested donation, have some stickers that people can pick up if they want to help me pay for the venue effectively. And then we're all going to hang out, grab drinks afterward. It's going to be an absolute blast. I am there as well because I'm doing a talk at PAX Unplugged Friday at 3 p.m. Again, Friday at 3 p.m., me and John Teasdale will give our talk about how to lose $40,000 on a successful Kickstarter. The next night, 7 p.m., Shot Tower Coffee, Philadelphia. I will go ahead and give my talk, the oral history of the Monica Lewinsky scandal. It is going to be awesome. You will not want to miss it. I will post it in the feed. That'll be the episode for that week. I'll probably do a little bonus, like if big news breaks stuff. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm so pumped to do it. And thank you so much, David, for coming out. Again, tell your friends. This is the first live show I have ever done by myself. And I am so counting on everybody who is around to come out and be a part of it. And finally, Presidential PUBG. Mark writes in. So instead of grading my students' homework, I will respond to the one that you gave. I could spend hours pondering a PUBG outcome, but I'll keep this short for you guys. The odds-on favorite would be Ike, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Enough modern military knowledge, strategy effectiveness, battlefield awareness, and a willingness to make tough calls. I will editorially offer this, Mark. My biggest vector in thinking about this is the president that A, has a familiarity with modern weaponry, so machine guns, stuff like that, so the equipment wouldn't jam, is close enough to their military experience. So who was closest to battlefield experience, basically. And then toughness in general. So that's why a lot of people said Teddy Roosevelt, but I think Teddy Roosevelt's experience might be a little too early for the kind of equipment that he would be dealing with. We go back to Mark's email. Strongest team. Clearly, teams would form, and their makeup would consist and depend on the dropping locations for each entrant. But the best would have a good mix for the task at hand. The leader would be Ike, who'd be a spy, Copperfield Bush, who's a headstrong soldier, Teddy Elephant Hunter Roosevelt, the motivator, Ronald Bozo Reagan, field commander, George Cross, the Delaware Washington, the deal maker, Thomas Jefferson, and the bluff caller, John Missile Crisis Kennedy, would make up the core team, clearly not loaded with diplomacy first. The Trump team, of course, your assignment begs the question of the current president. My speculation is that he would pull off surrounding himself with a team, but my speculation would be he would be taken down from within after sending too many others to meet their end while hanging in the luxury headquarters away from the snipers in the front lines. And then there's the brown bag team. Clearly a lot of past CICs that would not be able to work their way out of the bag in this scenario, nor would be willing to pick up the guns to save their team and themselves. Like members included Jimmy Carter, Franklin Roosevelt, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Andrew Jackson, and Herbert Hoover. Maybe if we were playing diplomacy, they'd have a chance, but not in the PUBG realm. I am in love with this question. Please keep emailing in. Who would win and why? Who would be the first to die? Presidential PUBG. And remember, they are being parachuted in at the exact physical fitness as the moment they are inaugurated. They put their hand on the Bible and then they're parachuted in to our presidential PUBG. Let's keep this going. I love it. I love it. I love it. Please keep emailing in. All right. That about wraps it up for this edition of Politicsx. Email. But your emails. We got the best emailers in the business, ladies and gentlemen. We got the best emailers, don't we, folks? TheYoungAmerican@gmail.com. Music provided by Valesco and Trop Killers. Follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere. Download archived episodes of this show at bonerwars.com. All right. Election results next week. So pumped. I will see you guys then. Remember, some shows talk about politics. Others talk about politics. This is the only, still, some more talk about politics. This is the only show that talks about all three. We will see you guys next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.